Welcome back. So, I forgot to tell you back on Monday, I believe, or actually, was it Monday or Tuesday? I think it was Tuesday when I did the preview that, while I'm recording down here in Fort Lauderdale, I'm actually kind of recording in my friend's living room. So, if you do hear some background noises in the background, I do apologize for that. But either way, let us get straight into the review of these 12 games because, whenever I have to do a review of that many games, it usually takes a while, and since I don't actually really have a lot of time because tonight I am going to be going to the Panthers versus Avalanche game down in Sunrise. I just want to get this done really quickly before I go to the game. So we start off with the game that of course I've attended between Inter Miami versus TFC, and remember, just like when I did the review back on Sunday, I will talk about games that I was able to watch first, and then I'll talk about games that I wasn't able to watch, and I watched the condensed highlights, or even on the league's YouTube channel in terms of the highlights that they show. And also, before we also talk about this game between Miami versus TFC, give a quick shout out to my friend James and his channel Miami TVG. He actually recorded this game and did a vlog in this game, and I'll also probably leave a link in the description below in terms of the vlog that he did. But in terms of this one for Miami, well, the 6-game losing streak is over, and I think this is probably the best way for them to have their 6-game losing streak to end when they get to play one of their favorite opponent of the season, and that of course is TFC. I mean, they just have TFC number this season, and it's shown it again where I think this is the only team that Miami was able to win all three of their matchup when they face against them. Now, in the first half, and just 2 minutes in, we thought that we saw our opening goal of the game when Federico Higuain puts the ball into the back of the net, but unfortunately that goal was disallowed for offside, and I actually did get a good look at it from where I was standing, and I did kind of feel like Higuain was just a little bit offside. I was also thinking maybe whether or not if they actually do go to VAR to see whether if it indeed was offside, but when I see it in real time, I definitely did think that he was in an offside position. But just 6 minutes later, Mullins did put one straight to Marsman from 10 yards out before in the 11th minute, Higuain would score, and it's Federico Higuain, the one that scores the goal in the 11th minute to give Miami the 1-0 lead. But in many ways, this was an absolute gift that Alex Bono has. And, Bono this season, it's been a kind of a year where, I now understand why TFC fans kind of feel very frustrated about Bono, because there's times where he can be very good, and then there's time he does this, where he literally just passed the ball right to Higuain, pretty much just gift wrapped him, and Higuain basically said, "Thank you very much, I'm just going to tap it into the empty net." And just like that, Miami was up 1-0 in the game. Though that lead looked like it was going to be short-lived in the 12th minute when Marshall was, or not Marshall, but Marsman was able to deny Marshall routine, and then on the follow-up, it looked like Saltado was able to put the ball into the back of the net, but the goal was disallowed for offside. I thought there was not enough closing down from the flank from Miami. I thought, they were allowing TFC way too much space in the flank for them to cross into the box. And I also thought the attacking sequence for Miami was looking very slow. And to be fair, I thought both team attacking sequence was looking really slow, and every time when they try to go on the counterattack for either of these teams, they just kind of hold on to the ball a little bit too much in the midfield and just kind of allow the defense to get back to their defensive shape. But at the same time, I also thought the passing in the final third for both teams was relatively poor, and there wasn't really a lot of chances. But in the 40th minute, there was a chance where Gregory blazed it high from long range before Bono was able to push Gonzalo Higuain 20-yard free kick over the bar. But then just 1 minute later, Miami would double their lead, and it's Macum, the one that was able to score from Gonzalo Higuain to make it 2-0 in favor of Inter Miami. And Macum, he loves to score against TFC because in his second career MLS goal, I believe his first goal was against TFC, and it was that penalty that he scored late in the game to give Miami all 3 points against Toronto at BMO Field. But we did head to halftime with Miami leading 2-0 in this game. Now in the second half, I thought Toronto was actually on the front foot early in this game, and they were definitely trying to press to get one back. They also did summon Josie Altidore coming off the bench. And, I thought Josie, you can definitely tell that, he has definitely lost a step or two. But there was time that he did kind of try to get into dangerous area to basically try to get one back for this TFC side. But that being said, in the 52nd minute, Gonzalo Higuain missed wide from close range. Oh, I forgot to mention. Well, I think you guys probably know by now that both Higuain brothers actually started in this game. But here, as I mentioned, in the 52nd minute, Gonzalo Higuain missed wide from close range before Bono was able to deny McCoon his second goal and Miami third from close range. And I also got to wrote, Toronto's set-piece defending has been poor, and it seems like, maybe the TFC team didn't saw that memo, because literally right as I wrote that, Miami would score on a corner. And it's actually Zavaleta, the one that is credited the own goal. Originally, on the PA, they said it was Lewis Morgan, the one that basically heads that one in. But when I look on the replay, yeah, it looked like it did touch of Zavaleta off last when that ball was coming into the box. But like I said, TFC, their set-piece defending was not good in this game. And this was another example of it, as they gave up the third goal to make it 3-0. Marshall Ruti did try to curl one from 15 yards out, but he missed one in the 64th minute. Before Pizarro, who came on just a couple of minutes ago, he blazed it into Roseanne. And after Miami kind of survived that early storm that Toronto had, well, it wasn't really a storm whatsoever, because TFC, despite they come out on the front foot early, they didn't really create any chances to get themselves a goal back in this one, but they definitely have been by far the better team after weathering that early press from TFC. Bono then denied Morgan, and then on the follow-up, McCoon basically skies it over the bar before Bono was able to deny Robinson from close range. And, Miami was definitely, they were not satisfied of just getting a 3-0 win. They want to push for more. There was a huge shout for a penalty late in this game for Miami, but it was not given, and I forgot who exactly was the player that brought down who, but there was definitely a huge shout for a penalty there that was not given. But nevertheless, Miami gets a big 3-0 win against TFC in this game. And the shots in this one, 17 shots compared to 8 that TFC had, 6 shots on goal compared to 4 that TFC had, 5 shots off target compared to 2 that TFC had, 6 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that TFC had, and possession-wise, 50% for both of these teams. And I was actually thinking about doing a quick review or a quick recap right after when I exit Drive Pink Stadium, but because of the fact that I was also watching this game very closely, and this game was very entertaining, when I walk out of the stadium, I decided to not do a quick recap, and I didn't even decided to do it later as I originally thought it would be, because there was more games that was happening right as I came back from the stadium. But with that being said, speaking of the game between Minnesota versus the Philadelphia Union, wow, what a roller coaster ride it has been for the Loons in their last 2 home games. So remember in the last home game where that was probably the most dejected home game I've seen the Loons have at home, and probably the most dejected I've ever felt of a loss that Minnesota had since that 3-2 loss they lost to Seattle last year in the Western Conference Final. And then in this game, this was probably the best win that the Loons has had all season, and probably the most resilient I've seen this team play all season long, because, they were definitely facing adversity at time in this game with them, going down 2-1, and then late in the game there was even a red card where the Loons were down to 10 men. And I think it's also safe to say that this team actually played better when they're down to 10 men than the other way around, where they're actually up a man. And again, this just does not make any sense whatsoever, but I guess that's just the way how this team is. Now, in the 3rd minute, Reynoso did try to do a rando layout, but he missed just high as he's trying to do a little cross shot that goes over the post. There was some tempers flare between both of these teams. It seems like both of these teams do not like each other. I mean, for an inter-conference matchup, you usually don't see a lot of tempers flare, but there was definitely the case in this one. Now, of course, it all started when Bizo basically pushed Reynoso down on the ground. And, I know the modern game is basically dominated by dark arts and stuff like that. But, for Reynoso, yeah, this was embarrassing. Like, he basically did a Tati Castellanos here where, Bizo, he did kind of bump Reynoso and kind of threw him down onto the ground. But the fact that Reynoso kind of just grabbed his face, thinking that he basically just got shot like that. I mean, come on, Reynoso, you're better than that. Like that is just kind of embarrassing to see. Like the reason why I said that the modern game is dominated by dark arts now is because you usually see these kind of happen, especially late in the game where we see like shithousery and players faking injury just to kill sometimes. But here, it's only the 9th minute of the game, and you don't really need to do that, Reynoso. And I also even hear some of the fan, I even hear from the Loons fan base that they demand Bizo to be sent off, which I don't think that was worthy of sending off. I mean, a yellow card I think was good enough, but for a sending off, I feel like that was a little bit harsh. But I can understand maybe why they decided to say that, because when you touch one of our star player, then it's definitely get the fan base riled up. But even as a Loons fan myself, I don't really think that should be a red card. And in some way, I kind of want to call out Reynoso for his dirty antics like that. That's just unexcusable and embarrassing. And I feel like maybe Reynoso himself should get booked because of what he was trying to play act there after just barely getting touched by Bizo and just kind of grab in his face while that is the case. But in the 9th minute, Martinez did drive one that goes wide from long range before there was a shout from the penalty from the Loons faithful that was not given in the 16th minute. Then Reynoso puts it over the bar in the 30th minute. Before in the 41st minute, Minnesota takes the lead, and it's Adrian Hunou who scored from Fragapane and Reynoso. I've been very impressed of how Hunou has played in these last couple of games. He's definitely started to get the trust back in Adrian Heath. I mean, remember how there was always that talk about the fact that it seems like it's like Adrian Hunou is just in Adrian Heath doghouse right now. It just seems like he has got his trust. Well, with the way that he's been now scoring goals, and I think this is the 2nd consecutive game that he is able to find the back of net, I think that will definitely give the trust to Adrian Heath now that Hunou is actually the guy that we thought he could be when we bought him during the summer transfer window. But unfortunately, that lead did not last long, because in the 44th minute, Gazdak would score from Montero and Wagner to tie the game up at 1 apiece, and that was just poor defending from the Loons. In fact, the defending in this game from Minnesota was really, really poor, and I'll talk a little bit later of why exactly that is the case. But as we head to the second half, tied at 1 apiece, Reynoso did puts it wide from long range in the 48th minute. The Loons was pressing early to try to get the lead back. Elliott did try to chip Miller, and originally I thought that one was going to go over the bar, but Miller kind of had to scramble back and tip that one over. And then on the very next sequence on the corner spot, Gazdak would score again, as he scored here to make it 2-1 in favor of Minnesota. But again, it's just poor defending from the Loons, and I noticed how in this game they had a lot of problem in terms of dealing with crosses. And I understand, when you look at this Union team, there's a lot of tall guys and tall trees on this team, but there's also times where I've seen a couple of Unions players that just are wide open in the box, and this was just a case where Gazdak was just completely on mark there, and also the fact that we didn't really get to that second ball when Miller basically tried to save that one. There's got to be a lot of question in terms of the defense there. But nevertheless, the Union were up 2-1, and I just kind of had that feeling like, this is like Colorado and Minnesota all over again, where the Loons, it looked like they were going to get 3 points after getting the goal, and then they can see 2 goals, so really kind of take the sting out of the building. And Allianz Field, after that second goal was scored, you can definitely feel like the fans basically kind of had almost the same reaction as I did. It's like, here we go again. This is like the game against Colorado versus Minnesota, where this team basically just take the soul out of you. But to their credit, they did respond well after going down 2-1. Finley did puts it wide from close range in the 60th minute. Before in the 65th minute, they would tie the game up, and it's Robin Le who scored from Reynoso to tie the game up at 2 apiece. I mean, it has to be Robin Le, who is basically our most consistent goal scorer this season, finding the back of the net again to tie the game up at 2 apiece. But that being said, that equalizer looked like it was going to short-live, because Gazdak actually hit the side netting, and again, this one was coming from a ball that was coming into the box, and the fact that the Loons did not do a good job in terms of defending that in the box, I just had a feeling that they were going to concede another goal like this. But little did I know, they would actually retake the lead in the 69th minute. And it's Fragapane, the one that retakes the lead from Minnesota in this game. Before Montero did have a chance in the 72nd minute, but he placed it high from long range. Then Elliott did try to head it in from 4 yards out, but Tyler Miller, who had another spectacular game in this one, he absolutely robbed Elliott there from 4 yards out on the header. On the other end, Reynoso was able to put one wide from long range in the 75th minute, and I also wrote this game was wide open, and that is not a good thing for the Loons, because we don't want this game to get too wide open and allow the Union potentially chances to get that equalizer. And things kind of started to get even worse for Minnesota, because in the 77th minute, Métanire gets a straight red, and honestly, for Romain Métanire, I mean, he knew that he was gonna get sent off as soon as he threw the ball right to Wagner. And you know, when you do that, when you're trying to throw the ball and aim at the head of an opponent, it's obviously an automatic red, and it's kind of frustrating that of course is the case where, you know, our players just cannot keep their cool. And again, this was a very physical and very feisty kind of game, but sometimes in these feisty games, you have to keep your composure. You cannot just have that kind of loss of composure as we saw with Métanire there. And yeah, the Loons were down to 10 men for the last 12 minutes, and this was where, my butt was definitely clinched here. It was really squeaky bum time, because the Union was throwing the kitchen sink in the last 12 minutes. Aronson hits one straight to Tyler Miller, and that, you know, I even wrote, as the time winds down, Philly was just throwing the kitchen sink for the late equalizer. And the sold-out crowd at Allianz Field, you can definitely feel there was a lot of tension. I mean, I know the Wonderwall was trying their best to basically keep the fans trying to support the team, but you can see it was really quiet, because there was a lot of tension inside that building. But thankfully, in the end, the Loons was able to survive as they win 3-2 in this game. And the shots in this one, 12 shots compared to 18 that the Union has. 6 shots on goal compared to 4 that the Loons had. 5 shots off target compared to 6 that the Union has. 3 shots out of block compared to 6 that the Union has. And possession-wise, 41% possession compared to 59% possession that Philly has in this one. But what a gutsy performance this was for this team, and especially after when we found out that pretty much every team around them was able to get a win. This is a huge victory for them to now propel themselves up to 6th place, and I think now the gap between them and the first team out, which is LAFC, I think it's now still going to be at 4 points. Obviously, RSL, you know, the first team below the red line, they do have that game in hand because they didn't play this week. But again, knowing the fact that everybody won this week, and the Loons was just basically getting no help from anybody, they had to win this game, and they did exactly that. And now let's hope that will continue, because the next game is going to be another big game against LAFC, which is a team that I mentioned before are one of those teams that is just below the red line right now. But now, moving on, in terms of the next match, is Portland and Vancouver. So, you know, for the Whitecaps, if this was last year, they would have not come back from this. Heck, even if this was maybe a couple years ago when they were in this deep rebuild, there was no way in the world they would have come back from a 2-0 deficit then on the road against the Portland Timbers. But yet, in this game, they did exactly that, and now they are officially above the red line after this victory. Now, in the first half, 6 minutes in, Asprilla had an open goal to shoot, but unfortunately he missed that one wide. Before the post was able to deny Blanco and Timbers the first goal. I mean, Blanco had another good game in this one. The Timbers were no doubt on the front foot early, and they were rewarded when they were able to get the opening goal in the 15th minute, and it's Jimmy Char that scores from Paredes to make it 1-0 in favor of the Timbers. They mentioned on the Timbers forecast that the Timbers are 13-1-1 when scoring the first goal, while that record is now going to be 13-2-1 after tonight. Crepeau then denied Asprilla in the 26th minute before Paredes hits it over the bar from the corner, and that the Timbers, they was just all over Vancouver. And in some way, I would kind of like to say that this game was kind of a game of two halves, because the Timbers was just absolutely dominating this game, and it just didn't feel like Vancouver was good. Looked like they were up for this one, and it looks like they were just going to get wiped out the door like they did against Seattle. But in the 30th minute, Galdino did have a chance from close range, but he hits it over the bar, as that was really Vancouver's first chance. So it took them almost half an hour to finally register their first chance of the game. But I did think that Vancouver did start to get back into this game a little bit, and they kind of started had some more possession compared to the first 30 minutes where they just pretty much looked lost out there. But that being said, the Timbers quickly crushed that hope in the 42nd minute when Darren Asprilla, I mean, we're getting into October and also getting into November. We know that Darren Asprilla, he is a guy that always scored big goals around this time of the year. He scored here from Jimmy Chara to make it 2-0 in favor of the Timbers before Cavallini did had a chance before halftime to put it wide or to give the Whitecaps a goal back before halftime, but he puts it wide from close range, and we head to halftime with the Timbers leading 2-0, and you're just thinking, yeah, this is pretty much done. Like, Portland should be able to maybe get a third goal in the second half, and next thing you know, they are able to remain fourth position, and that Vancouver will have to look forward to their next game against the Quakes to try to get themselves above the red line, right? Well, that was not the case, because in the second half, despite the fact that Mora almost made it 3-0 in favor of the Timbers after hitting the side netting in the back post, Vancouver did get one back, and it's Caicedo, the one that scores from Bikel to make it 2-1 in favor of the Timbers, and this is when the momentum really changes, because in the 71st minute, White missed wide from close range before Mabiala had a chance from close range, but he missed that one high. But then in the 75th minute, the Whitecaps equalize, and it's Brian White that scores from Gasper to tie the game up at 2 apiece. I mean, I've talked about before how I think that signing that the Whitecaps had by getting Brian White from the Red Bulls is an absolute steal. It is definitely proving it right now, because he has just been a man in form and started to look like the player that he was a couple of years ago with the Red Bulls, where he just cannot stop scoring. And I always said that, I always rate Brian White. I think he is considered one of the most underrated players and one of the most underappreciated player in the league, and he's definitely making some big impact. And if he can continue to score goals, the Whitecaps might have just find themselves their future number 9, and that's after they got Lucas Cavallini, who, Cavallini, even though he did play in this game, he hasn't been able to get some starting minutes, because Brian White has been just red hot lately and have kept him on the bench. Before in the 80th minute, I also wrote fans inside Providence Park, they were kind of shocked, and in some way they were kind of started getting bad memory that, this is going to be like the Portland Timbers of last season, where they just have problem finishing out games and basically blow the game. And it happened again in this one in the 80th minute when there was a penalty that was given to the Whitecaps, and for the second game in a row, Van Raken, I mean, he basically made a silly challenge to break down Dahome in the box. No doubt about that was a stone cold penalty, which Dahome was able to take advantage from the penalty spot to give the Whitecaps a 3-2 lead. And if you thought that crowd at Providence Park was quiet before, it got super quiet after that third goal was scored. Like, you can really hear a pin drop, and that the Timbers Army, even though they try their best to get the crowd rowdy again, it was really quiet when that goal went in. But late in the game, the Timbers did try to push for the equalizer. Valeri had a curler that just missed wide in the second minute of stoppage time, but in the end, what a big victory this was for the Vancouver Whitecaps, going on the road against the Timbers and able to come back from a 2-0 deficit and win 3-2 in this game. As the shots in this one, 12 shots compared to 11 that the Whitecaps had, 3 shots on goal compared to 4 that the Whitecaps had. Both teams had 7 shots off target, 2 shots that was blocked compared to none that the Whitecaps had, and possession-wise, 49% possession compared to 51% possession that the Whitecaps had. And, when you look at this Whitecaps team and how much they have been red hot in these last couple of games, this is a team that wants to make it to the playoffs. And, when you see a team that wants to make it to the playoffs and eventually are going to be in the playoffs, this could be a dangerous team to face heading into it, because anytime when you get into playoff time and you're hot, you are going to cause a lot of trouble, even if you're one of those lower seed. And right now I just think if this team does make it to the playoffs, they are definitely going to be a hands full for those teams that is near the top of the standings. I'm pretty sure those teams at the top of the standings with the likes of Sporting KC, Colorado, or even the Seattle Sounders, they definitely do not want to face the Vancouver Whitecaps. Well, maybe Seattle, because it seems like Seattle did kind of had success against them, but for Sporting KC and especially for the Colorado Rapids, they do not want to face the Whitecaps if they're going to be facing them in the first round of the playoffs. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is going to be the Quakes and Austin FC, and look at that. The Quakes were able to get a victory because, when I'm not at the stadium, that's just how it works. They're able to get a win in this one, although in some way this game was definitely not what I expected. I mean, I thought this was probably going to be a relatively entertaining but also close match, but in the end, it was just pretty much a laughter in this one, and especially in the second half where the Quakes just completely blown Austin out of the window, and in some way kind of almost similar to what happened last time when they faced Austin on the road, where they really kind of blitzed Austin straight out the second half. But first, in the first half, Jerussi did puts it high from long range in the 4th minute. I thought the Quakes early on has most of the possession, but they really haven't created much. Stuver then denied Ibobasi in the 18th minute before Kikanovic and Rios tried to poke that one in as a dangerous ball was coming into the box, but both of them could not able to do so. There was a shout for a handball for the Quakes, not given, before Chofis did puts it high from close range, and then Kikanovic did curls it wide from 19 yards out in the 35th minute. But you can definitely see the Quakes, after they were kind of getting off to a bit of a slow start in this game, they were definitely pushing to trying to get the opening goal, but unfortunately they weren't able to show that clinical goal finishing, and we head to halftime 0-0 as we go into the second half, where in the second half it was anything but not being clinical for the Quakes, because straight out of the game in the 46th minute, Chofis, who just loved to score against Austin this season, he scored here to make it 1-0 in favor of Austin FC, and I also kind of wrote Austin's second half woes have just kind of continues, and this is kind of one thing that I didn't mention about Austin, that they also have been having issue. They have had a lot of problem in terms of trying not to give up goals right as the second half goes out. It's almost like they kind of are in the locker room and they forgot that, the second half has already kicked off. You need to, of course, wake up, because there's just so many times this season they have give up goals very early in the second half, and little do we know that was also the beginning of a floodgate, because despite the fact that Jerussi did puts it high from close range, and at Austin, I thought they did kind of respond well after going down 1-0. The second goal was not long after, because in the 54th minute, Kikanovic, he scored from Ibobasi to make it 2-0 in favor of the Quakes. I really started liking Benji Kikanovic, and especially with the pace that he has, and that he is also a player that can be that lethal full goal scorer, and he showed it again here to make it 2-0 in favor of the Quakes. Before, at the hour mark, it'll be 3-0 in favor of the Quakes, as Wando, who hasn't scored a goal in a very long time, but he scored here to make it 3-0 in favor of the Quakes. I also did look on the Austin FC Reddit thread, and I think they had like a meme of how, with the way that when that ball was struck from Wando, Stuver was basically kind of collapsing on the ground, and almost like he basically was just falling the ground, and almost like he just died or anything. I mean, that just kind of shows you how nasty that was from Wando, even though that wasn't really kind of a chip. It was just more like a shot where he hits it from the open net. But yeah, with that, it was 3-0 in favor of the Quakes, and that was I believe the 169th goal that Wando of course have scored in his career, and extend the record as the MLS all-time goal scorer in league history. Fierro then missed wide from close range in the 66th minute before Lopez tried to do a rando layout, but he tips that, or Stuver was able to tip that one over the bar. And the Quakes, they were definitely not satisfied of just getting that third goal. They want to get more and really show no mercy to Austin. Stuver was able to then push a save that I've got to actually put who exactly that saved it, but he actually was able to put that one away toward the side netting before he was able to deny Fierro from 18 yards out. And as bad as Stuver gave up 4 goals in this game, I think he was probably the best player for Austin in this one. I mean, if it wasn't for him making some save, this game could have been 5 or 6-0 in favor of the Quakes. But in the 84th minute, he couldn't do anything about the Fierro shot, as he would score here from Espinoza. Well, actually, it was a header that Fierro basically hits here, but that would make it 4-0 in this game, and it almost was 5-0 when Fierro was going through on goal, and it looks like he was going to get his second goal, but Stuver was able to rob him there. But in the end, the Quakes, I mean, this was probably the most dominant performance that they had against an opposition in this one. As the shots in this one, 20 shots compared to 15 that Austin has, 9 shots on goal compared to 5 that Austin has, 7 shots off target compared to 4 that Austin has, 4 shots that was blocked compared to 6 that Austin has, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that the Quakes has, or actually that Austin has in this game. And as satisfying as this win is for the Quakes, I still feel like it's a little bit too late for them to make up some ground, and especially with the way that I mentioned how everybody was able to win above them. Yeah, it just makes the task a little bit tough for them, and that I still think that they need to win out if they want to make it to the playoffs. It still needs a lot of help from teams that above them, because it's not just that they're 7 points out right now, but they have a couple of teams that they need to leapfrog them, and that the game against Vancouver, that is kind of almost like a do or die game. Like, that is a game where if they do not win against the Whitecaps, you might as well just kind of kiss their playoff hope goodbye, because I think that's one of the team that they can potentially get a win and get them closer. There's another game where they go on the road against RSL, where that's also another do or die kind of game. But yeah, even though if this team is not going to make it to playoffs, at least they are still giving some of their fans something to cheer about, and that this game was probably one of the best performances that they put this season. But it's also a combination that Austin, yeah, they look like they're pretty much thinking about next season, and are just kind of playing out of the stream, because they just got completely rolled over in this game, and especially in the second half. But now moving on in terms of the next match, and now getting into the games that I did not watch, because these 4 games are actually the only ones that I was able to watch during my time here yesterday. But now getting to the game that I did only watch like the highlights or the condensed highlights from the league website, and we start off with Atlanta taking on NYCFC, and for Atlanta, they should have won this one. I mean, they absolutely should have won this one. And the old saying, when you're not being very, very clinical and you let your opposition in this game and also unable to kill the game off, you are basically going to get punished at the end of the day, and Atlanta basically find out the hard way in this one. But early on, NYCFC actually looked lively early. Morales did have a chance in the 3rd minute, but he hits it straight to Guzan before Guzan had to deny Keaton Park from long range, and that, I wrote NYCFC looked lively early in this game, but that was really the only time when they kind of looked lively, because from then on, this is when Atlanta really took over this game. Marcelino Moreno puts it wide from close range in the 11th minute, before 6 minutes later, he would get on the score sheet from Araujo to make it 1-0 in favor of Atlanta. Then Araujo almost scored in the 26th minute, but Sean Johnson was able to deny him, and Atlanta, not only the fact that they started to control this game, but they really took over for this game and really was testing Sean Johnson a lot. In the 36th minute, Araujo trying to score a goal and double that lead for Atlanta from the free kick, but Johnson was able to tip that one over. I mean, Luis Araujo, he's going to definitely be tossing and turning, well, not tonight, but yesterday, about how many missed chances that he has had. There was a huge shout for a penalty from the Atlanta faithful, as they feel like Moreno was brought down in the box by Sands. I didn't think that was a penalty, because on a second look, it definitely looked like Moreno kind of went down on the ground a little bit too easily, and I think that is probably the reason why the referee feel like maybe that was going to be too soft to be given a penalty. But in the 44th minute, Araujo had another opportunity, but he puts it wide from long range in the 44th minute, and despite all the opportunity that Atlanta has, they were still only up 1-0 heading into the second half. And in the second half, Johnson was able to deny Miles Robinson, but he did kind of allow a big rebound, which fortunately for him, there was like 3 NYCFC player able to clear that one away. So for Miles Robinson, his first ever goal for Atlanta will have to wait. Before in the 52nd minute, Johnson was able to deny Araujo. Atlanta was definitely pressing for the second goal. Kubo then blazed it high from long range before Bello shook the post from close range, and I even kind of wrote, will these missed chances can come back to haunt Atlanta? Because if they even show a little bit more of their clinical side in this one, they could have been 3 or 4-0 up by the chances that they had in this one. Then Thiago Rodriguez hits one straight to Guzan in the 64th minute, as that was really one of the rare chances that NYCFC had ever since the opening part of this game. Moreno then had a long-range shot that hits one over the bar in the 70th minute, and as time winds down, it seems like maybe Atlanta, even though they weren't being very clinical, they were going to escape a 1-0 victory. But then in the 90th minute, NYCFC finally broke their goal drought. And it's Forensen, the one that broke the goal drought for NYCFC as he scored on a wonderful free kick to tie the game up at 1 apiece, and that would be the final score of this game. As the shots in this one, 13 shots apiece for both of these teams, which, actually, when you look at the stats, it looked like it was a relatively close game, but in reality, a lot of the shots that NYCFC had wasn't even close to being on target, and also the shots on goal was kind of hit straight to Brad Guzan. Almost said Sean Johnson there. I mean, Sean Johnson, he was really the only reason why NYCFC was able to get a point in this game, besides Forensen finally broke that goal drought that goes all the way back to a couple of games ago. And in fact, if you want the actual minutes, I think it's like 400 plus minutes since NYCFC was last able to score a goal before Forensen able to break that drought. But shots on goal, 7 shots on goal for the 4 that NYCFC had. Both teams had 6 shots off target. No shots that was blocked for the 3 that NYCFC had, and possession-wise, Atlanta had the better of the possession. 55% possession compared to 45% possession that NYCFC had. But like I said, for Atlanta, if they are at the end of this season, at the end of the regular season, and heading into the playoffs, they do miss out on home field advantage by a point or 2, or even in the worst case scenario, if they do miss the playoffs entirely by a point or 2, this is going to be a game that they're going to look back as the one that, this is a game they clearly should have won with the amount of chances that they had throughout this one. But now, moving on into the next match, is the craziest match of the midweek action, and a match that once again kind of summarized FC Cincinnati's season and their life in MLS. I mean, I swear, I've said it many times of how I feel bad for FC Cincinnati, and that there's even times where I don't even feel bad anymore for them. I just feel I almost feel there's pain every time I see this team always find a way to lose in a game, and in this one, I mean, it's hard for me to say that they found a way to lose this game, because the winning goal that Chicago scored is definitely going to be one that could be nominated as the goal of the year. But early on in the 6th minute, Solania was able to deny Vasquez from close range before the goal scoring party started in the 13th minute, as Robert Baric would score to make it 1-0 in favor of the Chicago Fire before he would score again just 3 minutes later. But this was one that, I feel like Titan would definitely like to have this one back with the way that he was trying to kind of save this one. Didn't really get a lot of hand to it, and just kind of puts it straight to Baric's path, and he basically puts it in to make it 2-0 in favor of the Fire. Vasquez then missed just one from close range, as FC Cincinnati was looking to try to get one back, and they eventually did in the 28th minute, as Acosta would score from Vasquez and Bailey to make it 2-1 in favor of the Fire, and then 8 minutes later, they would tie the game up, and it's Vasquez himself who had a great game in this one. He scored here from Mount Torita to tie the game up at 2 apiece. By the way, they were interviewing the new GM, Chris Albright, while this goal was going, and I like how the FC Cincinnati feed basically said, we were going to basically finish interviewing them, but now you have to stay with us, because it seems like you, of course, are a good luck charm, and I guess maybe that's a beginning of some hope for FC Cincinnati, because, if Chris Albright, who there's a lot of excitement of what he can do to this team, and a lot of people have credit of him alongside with Ernest Turner doing a great job turning the Union in franchise and their luck around with the team that they built. Maybe he's gonna do the same thing, and he's already got off to a good start with him doing an interview and seeing his team able to come back from a 2-0 deficit. Although the Fire almost made it 3-2 and retake the lead, but Titan was able to deny Pineda, and that I also kind of wrote this game was just kind of off the rails, and I would not be surprised there was going to be more goals in the second half, and there was. So as we go in the second half, Brent Near went through on goal, but his shot was actually blocked away before Titan was able to deny Navarro from long range effort, but that one actually Titan actually pushed this one onto the post when he was able to make a save on Navarro's shot. Monterita then hits a rocket of a volley, but missed just wide. But you can definitely see that both of these teams, keep in mind, this is a game between two teams that have already eliminated from the playoffs. But the way that they played tonight, it definitely looked like both teams haven't been eliminated yet, because they will really want to get all 3 points at the end of the night. And the 70th minute, it looked like the Fire was once again on the driving seats of getting that 3 points, as Madron would score an amazing free kick that will definitely be maybe give a shout for a goal of the week, because we will definitely know who is going to win the goal of the week a little bit later in this game. But he scored a wonderful free kick to retake the lead for the Fire to make it 3-2. And as the time kind of winds down, Cincinnati was definitely trying to push for the equalizer. Solania was able to deny Brenner from long range before in the first minute of stoppage time. Cincinnati tied it again. And it's Tyler Blackett who scores his first career MLS goal from Cameron and Monterita to tie the game up at 3 apiece. So definitely a great moment for the youngster to score his first ever goal in that time of period. But unfortunately, that happiness would last barely 2 minutes, because just 2 minutes later, Chicago would retake the lead, and they would retake the lead for good. And this is where we get to the goal that not only is going to be the goal of the week for this week, but you can say that this could be a nomination for goal of the year, because Stojanovic, what an absolute hit this was. Almost very Darlington Nagbe-esque, where he kind of bring it down off his feet and basically just rifle that one from about 35 yards out. And yeah, I mean, it's an absolute dagger, that one to the FC Cincinnati heart, and that what turns out to be the winning goal, as in a crazy game between two teams that have already been eliminated. Chicago was able to walk away with 3 points and win 4-3 against FC Cincinnati. Shots in this game, there was tons of it. 19 shots compared to 16 that Philly has. 11 shots on goal compared to 6 that FC Cincinnati has. 7 shots off target compared to 4 that the Union has. 6 shots compared to 1 that, or actually not the Union, the Fire has. I just review the Union game here, and I think I accidentally put Philly name there. So actually, let's start again. 19 shots compared to 16 that Chicago has. 6 shots on goal compared to 11 that Chicago has. 7 shots off target compared to 4 that the Fire has. 1 shot that was blocked compared to 6 that Cincinnati has. And possession-wise, 41% possession compared to 59% possession that the Fire has had in this game. And you can also maybe say that this was a game where defense was kind of optional, because there was times where, yeah, the defense in this game was just not good whatsoever. But, I said this before. When you have these kind of game where even though both of these teams have already been eliminated, sometimes you're going to get crazy games like this, and this was just one of those crazy games. And unfortunately for Cincinnati fans, it's another one that they don't want to remember, with the way that they've once again found a new way to lose. And really, it's one that I don't think it's really their fault, because Stojanovic, that's a goal that you just got to tip your hat off with the way that he scored that one, and it's just kind of a goal of the year kind of contention. But it also just kind of summarized the luck that Cincinnati has had this season, and them being in MLS where they just have no luck whatsoever, as they head into the off season looking to rebuild again. But that being said, I am now going to change boards and look at the last 6 games that happened in terms of the Wednesday action. So one thing I didn't mention earlier is that there was actually a lot of goals that was scored in these 12-game midweek action of match week number 32, and that theme continued in the game between DC versus New England, where the refs are back in winning ways after getting a 3-2 win in favor of DC United. Though the refs kind of had to earn this 3 points, because I thought DC played really well in this game, and that if it wasn't for Matt Turner and also a couple of chances that I'm pretty sure DC will definitely regret after this game, DC probably could have won this game against New England. Now, in the first minute, as I'm going to actually just move this a little bit higher here, Turner did deny Kamara from long range before Birnbaum hits it wide in the 12th minute. DC, of course, I thought was pushing early for the first goal. Hamid then denied Buxa, as I thought really that was kind of New England's first real chances, because DC, again, like I said, they kind of had more of the possession and they looked like they were going to get the opening goal. Turner then denied Roberta from 15 yards out in the 28th minute before Roberta tried to stab one in, but it goes straight to Matt Turner in the 43rd minute. And then Kamara had another opportunity to get the opening goal right on the stroke of halftime, but he puts it wide from close range. And we head to halftime 0-0, despite the fact that DC were the better team. Now in the second half, Turner would deny Kamara straight out of the gate, and straight out of the gate, it looks like DC was once again pushing for the opener, and eventually they did get the opener. It's Roberta, the one that scored in the 51st minute to give DC United a 1-0 lead. And this is when you're thinking that, well, maybe DC can pull this upset off, because they've been by far the better team. New England hasn't really been in this game. Turner then denied Kamara from close range in the 53rd minute before, in the 61st minute, New England equalized. And it's Buxa that scores from McNamara to tie the game up at 1 apiece, and that was just completely against the run of play. And that really kind of also changed the momentum too, because, New England, they waste no time to retake the lead and really turn this game on its head. And it's Carlos Hill, who usually is the magic man, according to what Dave Johnson kind of mentioned. I mean, he always mentioned Carlos Hill is kind of the magic man in the DC feed, and I do agree. I mean, he is a guy that he is the assist king, but at times he can also score goals too, and he scored here from both to give the refs a 2-1 lead. And I'm pretty sure those fans at Aldi Field and those DC fans are probably kind of stunned. Despite the fact that their team played relatively well against the Elect Supporter Shield winner, it looks like they're going to suffer a loss in this game. And in the 68th minute, Bo then put one over the bar, as New England, not only the fact that they were looking very ruthless, but they had the momentum. Gresso then puts it over the bar in the 70th minute, before in the 79th minute, New England looked like they killed the game off, as Gustavo Bo would score from Buxa and McNamara to make it 3-1 in favor of New England. So the B&B combination once again happened in this one. DC did get a late goal that looked like maybe give them a slight hope that they can set up an incredible finish, as Roman Abia that scores here from Paredes. I noticed Roman Abia has scored a lot of late goal for DC lately, and I'm happy the fact that Abia is scoring goals, because as a former Minnesota player, I always like them even if they didn't stay with the club for a very long time, and that's the case for Albula. But like I said, that goal kind of came very late in the game, and despite DC did have, I think, about 3 minutes to try to rescue themselves a point in this game, they weren't able to do so, as New England able to hold on to win 3-2 in this one. And the shots in this one, 20 shots compared to 18 that New England has, 9 shots on goal compared to 7 that New England has, 5 shots off target compared to 7 that New England has, 6 shots off target, 6 shots that was blocked compared to 4 that the Revs had. And possession-wise, the Revs had 55% possession compared to 45% possession that DC has in this game. And for the Revs, I think that's now 69 points that they are currently at, and they're only 3 points away from tying the record that LAFC has. And again, they really had to earn this one, because again, for DC, they will definitely be very frustrated with this result. But the good news for DC is that a lot of team around them weren't able to get victory. And in fact, how earlier I talked about in the Western Conference, where it was kind of frustrated for all those Western Conference teams that gets a win and then realize the team around you, they were able to also get wins, so you don't really move anywhere. That's kind of the same case in the Eastern Conference, except it's kind of the opposite, where pretty much nobody actually got a win in terms of those teams that is in the playoff race. In fact, there was actually, I think, only 2 Eastern Conference teams that was able to get a win, and then there was other games that, of course, ended in a draw. And one of them is the game that I'm about to talk about, which is Orlando versus Montreal, where Montreal was once again able to escape Exploria Stadium with points here, as they got a 1-1 draw against Orlando City. But early on, Junior Urso, weak header, did go wide before he had another chance in the 12th minute, and this time he hits it much stronger on the volley, but that one struck the post. Orlando was definitely pressing early for for the lead. Michel hits it wide from 10 yards out in the 25th minute before DK hits it high from 12 yards out in the 28th minute. And it was really kind of Orlando early in this game, but they were having trouble in terms of putting the ball into the back of net, which is not the first time I've said that happen, because it seems like there's some teams in some of these games where we see the team dominate in the first half, and they just have problems in terms of being clinical and putting that ball into the back of the net. Mueller then had a chance in the 38th minute, but he hit his shot from distance wide before he did get on the score sheet right on the stroke of halftime, as he scored from DK to make it 1-0 in favor of Orlando as we head into the second half. And you're thinking, well, with Orlando getting that goal, looks like they might run away with this, right? Well, that was not the case, because in the second half, this is when Montreal really kind of started to trying to get themselves back in a game. And in some way, this was also a game where I think it was kind of a tale of two halves, because straight away, just 3 minutes into the second half, Galaise, I mean, this has to be nominated. There is a Save of the Year nomination. This is one of them. I mean, he absolutely robbed Ibrahim, who, I have no idea how that one did not go into the back of the net. In fact, it was not just only some cat-like reflexes from Galaise, but I think maybe Ibrahim kind of just hit this one straight into Galaise's leg, because that is just, like, that is just an incredible save that, Ibrahim, I'm pretty sure he has his hands over his head of the fact that how in the world he did not tie the game up at 1 apiece. But the good news for Montreal is that missed opportunity didn't come back to haunt them, because they would actually tie the game just 3 minutes later, as Rudy Camacho was scored from Mihajlovic to tie the game up at 1 apiece. Not good defending whatsoever from Orlando City on the set piece and on the corner, and it just allowed Rudy Camacho to easily headstep one away to tie the game up at 1 apiece. Then Mihajlovic had an opportunity to give Montreal the lead in the 56th minute, but he dropped that one high. And again, Montreal, they were on top heading into the second half, and they were looking to trying to once again steal all 3 points against Orlando, just like they did last time. But Orlando did eventually start to wake up as Pereira puts it wide from close range. Pentimus then denied DK, and then on the follow-up, Juan had a shot that was blocked off the line by Camacho. Then Pentimus was able to deny Janssen, as Orlando looked like they started to regain the momentum. And I actually will take back what I said about how it was a tale of two halves. It's almost kind of like it was Orlando dominating the first half, and then Montreal kind of showed that pushback, and they were trying to get that second goal, but eventually Orlando kind of settled in this game, and they did try to get the lead back, but ultimately they weren't able to do so, and they have to settle for a 1-1 draw against Montreal. As the shots in this one, 13 shots compared to 6 that Montreal has, 4 shots on goal compared to 2 that Montreal has, 5 shots off target compared to 3 that Montreal has, 4 shots out of block compared to 1 that Montreal has, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that Montreal has in this game. But like I said, because pretty much almost no one won in the Eastern Conference, both of these teams doesn't really lose a lot of ground. In fact, I think these teams actually did gain some ground too, because there was actually a lot of Eastern Conference team around the bubble also loses. So Montreal actually are now up to 6th place and have a 2-point cushion in terms of above the red line, and Orlando City of course stay in 4th position right now and still are that team that is the last team that can host a home game in the first round of the playoffs. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is going to be LAFC and FC Dallas. And in some way, for LAFC, they kind of did a Minnesota in this game, because, Dallas, they looked like they were going to walk away and kind of play spoiler in this game by getting a win. But in the end, LAFC able to come from behind to get the 3-2 win. And I think they might have found their future number 9 in this game, because in the 7th minute, Felipe was able to deny Rodriguez, and actually was able to make a good save on Brian Rodriguez in the near post. But just 3 minutes later, Dallas actually takes the lead, and it's Holland's head, the one that scored from Ferreira and O'Brien to give FC Dallas a 1-0 lead. It was almost 2-0 when Hara tried to chip it over Blackman, and he actually was very unlucky for Hara, which just kind of sums up his season this year, as he was trying to chip it over Jamal Blackman, but that one struck the post, and then on the follow-up, Holland's head did strikes one right to Blackman. But then in the 30th minute, it was a penalty given to LAFC, and originally, there was a shout for a penalty when Edwards looked like he was brought down by Edwards. They go to VAR to see whether or not if the case, and that indeed was the case. So LAFC gets the penalty, and it's Orengo, the one that scores on from the spot to tie the game up at 1 apiece. Though Felipe, yeah, he's gonna be very frustrated about this one because he definitely got a lot on this one. And I never liked when players decided to kind of do that stutter step as they were about to shoot it, because I know that stutter step is just kind of make sure whether or not if the goalkeeper can maybe commit too early, and basically the player can basically go the other way while the goalkeeper has already committed which way he's going to go. But when there's times when you try the stutter step and the goalkeeper don't move, then you could be in big trouble, and it just feels like that was the case where Felipe did a good job staying on his line, didn't fall by that starter step that Orengo kind of did at the end. And Orengo, he kind of hits it straight to Felipe, and Felipe just could not keep that one out. I mean, he got a big palm to it, but it kind of took a backspin right toward goal and into the back of net, and LAFC was able to tie the game up at 1 apiece. But that equalizer wouldn't last long, because right on the stroke of halftime, Franco Jara, who hasn't scored a lot of goals this season, but he gets on the score sheet here from Obrian and Freire to give FC Dallas a 2-1 lead heading into the second half. And heading into the second half, Blackman was able to deny Freire in the 68th minute as Dallas was looking to try to kill this game off. But then in the 75th minute, it's that man again, Chicho Orengo, scoring from Maswowski and Duke to tie the game up at 2 apiece. And just 4 minutes later, he would score again to complete his hat trick in the 79th minute to give LAFC a 3-2 lead. I mean, you can see why I say this game looks very similar to the Minnesota versus Philly game. I mean, the only difference is it's actually the away team, the one that basically come from behind, whereas the Loons, of course, come from behind when they were playing at home. But nevertheless, what an impressive resort this is, and especially, the fact that I talk about how I think Chicho Orengo might be finally that guy that LAFC has been long looking for ever since Diamande left this team, because for a very long time they've been having that issue of who exactly is the number 9 of this team. I mean, they tried to play Vela a couple of times in that number 9 spot, and the same goes with Rossi, but knowing the fact that Rossi is now on loan with Fenerbahce, and we still don't know on the health of Vela, Chicho Orengo has really stepped up, and a guy that, again, he is a guy that, he kind of came out of nowhere a couple of months ago, where, some people might say that, well, he might be just kind of a placement holder besides Vela, or before Vela comes back to this team, but he's anything but a placeholder. He has been a lethal goal scorer, now scoring 12 goals in this season after his hat trick, and, this is all done just 2.5 months before he arrived with LAFC. So yeah, impressive performance he had in this game, and also scoring his first ever hat trick in MLS as he's able to help LAFC getting the come from behind 3-2 win against FC Dallas. And the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 10 that LAFC had, 2 shots on goal compared to 5 that LAFC had, 6 shots off target compared to 2 that LAFC had. Both teams had, or actually no, 2 shots on that is blocked compared to 3 that LAFC had. I almost said both teams had 2 shots that was blocked, but that was not the case. And possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that LAFC had. And again, it's very important that LAFC won this game, because if they did not win this game against Dallas, they would definitely lose ground to all these teams that, of course, that is around the bubble in the playoffs were in the Western Conference, and all of them were able to get victory. But now, moving on into the next match on this board, is the other LA team getting a 3-0 victory against the Houston Dynamo. And, for the Galaxy, I talked about how coming into this game, this is kind of the first tough game that they have coming into this gauntlet that they're about to face in these next couple of games, because, even though the Dynamo are pretty much out of the playoff picture, this is a team that just for some reason have the Galaxy number, but that was just not the case in this one, as the Galaxy was able to get a 3-0 win. And early on there was actually a kind of like the first 30 minutes of the game, it looked like this one could be a very high-scoring game because there was a lot of chances from both of these teams. Oh, I had to mention the fact that there was kind of like a false start that happened in the kickoff. Like anytime when we had to like retake the kickoff, I always have to mention it because it's very, very rare you see that happen, and when it did happen, it's always kind of interesting to see. But straight out of the game, Alvarez struck the post from a long-range effort before Bond was able to deny Quintero on the free kick, and both teams was getting good early chances early in this game, and it would continue as Nelson was able to rob Cabral, who was going through on goal. Ruti then had a shot that goes over the bar before Nelson once again make a great save, robbing Chicharito from point blank range in the 18th minute. Then on the other end, Urruti just missed wide from close range in the 22nd minute, and this game was kind of on a knife edge. Like you can see, there was so many chances from both teams, and it's kind of the reason why I said earlier this game could have easily maybe ended 2-2 or even 3-3 as we head into the latter part of the first half. But in the 39th minute, a penalty was given to the Galaxy after Figueroa brought down Cabral in the box, and there was no doubt that was a penalty kick there, and Sasha Kleshin basically stepped up, takes the penalty, and scoring that one to give the Galaxy a 1-0 lead. And little do we know that was kind of a start of a bit of a floodgate, because just 6 minutes later, Zarek Valentin unfortunately scored an own goal for the Dynamo, and that has to be a very gut punch kind of goal to concede right on the stroke of halftime. But it's not as gut punch as we head into the second half with the Dynamo down 2-0, because when you're down 2-0 after conceding that late goal, the only thing you're hoping is maybe start the second half positive and maybe get one back to make this game interesting. But no, instead the Galaxy would make it 3-0 in the 47th minute as Kevin Cabral would score from Chicharito to make it 3-0 in favor of the Galaxy. And that really is just the ultimate dagger with the way that, again, you want to come out in the second half on the front foot, and you just gave up a goal, and now you're facing a 3-0 deficit. And that, even though the Galaxy is a team that has that tendency of giving up goals, I didn't think that they were probably going to blow a 3-0 lead against the Dynamo. Though the Dynamo did have a chance in the 53rd minute as Quintero puts it wide from close range. I mean, Darwin Quintero's got to be very frustrated of himself. He had a lot of chance in this game, and the same goes with Maxi Urruti. Bond then denied Memo Rodriguez in the 74th minute as Houston was looking to try to give the fans something to cheer about throughout this game, because, I didn't think the Dynamo played badly in this one. I mean, I think the scoreline doesn't really implicate the fact that the Dynamo actually played well in this game against the Galaxy, but they just could not put away their chances when they need to do so. There was a shout for a penalty late in this game from the slim Houston faithful that hasn't made their way to the exit, but nothing was given. But in the end, the Galaxy was able to not only get the victory, but also get a clean sheet, which seems to be very rare these days for the Galaxy, knowing how bad their defense has been in the last couple of games. But the shots in this one, 22 shots compared to just 10 that the Galaxy had, 7 shots on goal compared to 5 that the Galaxy had, 10 shots off target for the 5 that the Galaxy had, 5 shots out of block for the none that the Galaxy had, and possession-wise, 47% possession compared to 53% possession that the Galaxy has. And like I said, this is a huge victory for them against a team that always tends to have their number and always kind of is a bogey team for them. But getting this victory means that they're now still above the red line, and I believe they're now moving up to 5th place in the Western Conference, and are also only a point behind Portland too, because one thing I forgot to mention about the Timbers is that even though they're still in 4th place right now, they all of a sudden have opened the door for teams that is below them in terms of getting that vital 4th position in the West, because that is the position where if you can get that position, you will be the last team to get a chance to host a home game in the first round of the playoffs. But now moving on into the last 2 game on this board, and the last 2 game of the midweek action is Nashville and Columbus, and what do you know? Nashville drew again. I mean, this is now 5 straight draws to the draw kings of MLS known as Nashville SC, and I think now their tally is up to 16 draw this season. And I actually didn't check to see what is the most draw an MLS team has in over a season, but I think Nashville was pretty close in terms of breaking that record. If not, they've already broken that record with the way that pretty much more than half of their game this season has ended in a draw. And like I said, even though they have have had a lot of draw in this game. I don't think their fans are going to be happy with it, with the way that, yes, you don't lose the game, but at the same time you also don't win the game, and you don't get the maximum points that you need. And I think the only good news for Nashville is at least they saw the Union took the loss against Minnesota, and that they did gain some ground, even though it's another game where it's a frustrating result where they didn't get all 3 points at home. Now, in the first half, we got a little bit of a throwback to MLS 1.0 when there's soccer line overlapping the football lines. I mean, anytime when it's taking place at a football stadium, and especially with the way that we're now into the NFL season, you're going to see that happen. Although the good news for Nashville is that they are going to be moving into their new stadium soon. I think it's next season when they do move into their new stadium, and that this, I think, is the last season that they're going to be playing at Nissan. Now, in the second minute, Randall Leao hits it high from long range before he tried to go with another long range effort just 6 minutes later. Pretty much the same result, it just missed high. Room then denied Zimmerman, who had a free header in the 12th minute, and I thought Columbus got away with that one, because anytime you allow Walker Zimmerman to have a free header, yeah, you're basically asking to be score on. But Nashville was pushing early for the lead. Godoy had a shot that was deflected, but it goes wide before Willis denies Zarian in the 35th minute, and then Zardes puts a shot that was just deflected wide. And Columbus, after a bit of a slow start in this game, they kind of got themselves back into this game and looked for the go-ahead goal. Santos had a shot that was denied by Willis from 17 yards out, and we had to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. So in the second half, Sapon, I thought he should have scored in this play where he was just all alone in the box, had a free header, but just kind of hits that free header, kind of put a one-hopper that goes high over the bar. And CJ Sapon has started to cool off a little bit. I mean, remember that good run that he had back in August and September? He has really started to cool off a little bit, and that's definitely not good news for Nashville SC. Not much happening in the second half, as I thought, where chances was really far in between. Zarian did have a chance in the 74th minute, but he puts it high from long range. But just 1 minute later, he was on target as he scored the opening goal from Santos and Barry to give Columbus a 1-0 lead. But that lead would be short-lived, because on the other end, Nashville would equalize. And it's Hani Mukhtar who scores from Rios and Loba to tie the game up at 1 apiece, though Columbus looked like they were going to retake the lead just 3 minutes later when Jonathan Mensah had a free header, but that one goes straight to Joe Willis. Willis then denied Rios on the other end in the 82nd minute. As you can tell, both of these teams was going for the win, and I wouldn't blame them, considering the fact that both of these teams coming into this game, they want to get a win to either get themselves closer in the playoff race, that is Columbus, or for Nashville trying to secure that second spot. But as the time winds down, there was a incident where it looked like Luke Hawkinson got a straight red in the second minute of stoppage time, but VAR overruled the original decision and rescinded to a yellow card. Now, they only showed one replay of that in the condensed highlight, and the replay that they shown was not a really good one for me to tell whether or not indeed if VAR were to rightfully resent that one to a yellow card. But nevertheless, that was that kind of incident didn't really kind of change the game, because that was, even if Nashville was down to 10 men, they probably could have held on to a 1-1 draw, and especially with Luke Hawkinson. I think Tony Husband in the Nashville SC feed even mentioned the fact that it didn't really matter if Luke Hawkinson gets a red card or a yellow card. He was already sitting in a game where if he gets a yellow, he's going to be suspended in the next game, and even if he gets a yellow in this one, he basically is suspended in the next one. So in some way, it was a no-win situation for Hawkinson, even though he avoided of that embarrassed walk of shame after getting a red card. He still is going to be suspended in the next game, which is a really crucial game that Nashville has against Philly. In fact, I also heard, I think Mukhtar also is going to be suspended in the next game against the Union, and that is a huge loss for Nashville SC, considering the fact that Mukhtar is really their star of this team, and really is the guy that is still able to score the goals for them. And the fact that they're not going to have him in that big showdown for the second position in the Eastern Conference this weekend, that could really be a bit of a blow for this Nashville team. But in the end, this game, of course, ended in a draw as the shots in this one, 13 shots compared to 11 that Columbus had, 4 shots on goal compared to 6 that Columbus had, 6 shots off target compared to 3 that Columbus had, 3 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that Columbus had, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that Columbus has in this game. So now we move on into the last game on this board. And that, of course, is going to be Colorado and Seattle, and the Rapids had a huge opportunity in this game to finally get that statement win, but unfortunately, in a very uncharacteristic Rapids way, they gave up the lead late in this one. Well, I would say uncharacteristic if this was maybe in the beginning of the season, but lately this has been a problem for the Rapids. They have given up a lot of late goals and have problem in terms of finishing games, and this was one of them where they drop points against the Sounders and miss a big opportunity to finally get that statement win that proves that they could be an MLS Cup contender heading into the playoffs. But in the first half, Fry denied Baji from the near post. Overall, there was really not much happening in the first 20 minutes, and I thought the Sounders, once again, they kind of looked very sloppy with possession and kind of was having problem in terms of even stringing some passes, which was very unlike the Sounders in this game. But in the 22nd minute, Yarbrough was able to deny Montero before Montero had a chance late in the first half as he flashed a shot wide from close range. Well, actually not wide, but more like over the bar from close range. But we do head to halftime with the game scoreless between both of these teams. Now in the second half, Mark-Anthony Kaye took on a couple of Sounders defender in the box, and it looked like he was going to score an amazing goal there, but unfortunately he puts that one wide. Again, very uncharacteristic. You see the Sounder defense just getting absolutely turned upside down there. But in the 54th minute, Yarbrough was able to deny João Paulo from close range, and Paulo kind of did something similar to Mark-Anthony Kaye, kind of turned this Rapids defense around and almost gets the opening goal. But ultimately, that opening goal came in the 66th minute, and it's Baji, who, again, continued this redemption arc that he has with the Rapids, scoring from Jack Price to give the Rapids a 1-0 lead. And anytime when Jack Price is on the assist chart, you know it comes from a set piece. And indeed it was. This one coming from the corner, with which Baji was the first one to get it, and he gives the Rapids a 1-0 lead, though that lead looked like it was short-lived just 1 minute later when Montero puts it wide from close range. Bassett did have a chance in the 70th minute, but he crows that one wide from 20 yards out. But then in the 81st minute, Seattle ties the game, and it's Christian Rodin, the one that scored from Leo Chu to tie the game up at one apiece. Mosqueda did trying to give the Rapids the lead back late in this game, but he puts it over the bar from the free kick, and in the end, for the Rapids, big missed opportunity for them to get that statement win as they had to settle with a point alongside with the Sounders in this one in a 1-1 draw. Shots in this one, 14 shots compared to 9 that the Sounders had, 1 shots on goal compared to 4 that the Sounders had, 7 shots off target compared to 4 that the Sounders had, 6 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that the Sounders had, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that the Sounders has in this game. And yeah, overall, I think the Sounders probably going to be the more happier side, even though this is another game where they weren't able to get a win because, again, for the Rapids, they had a huge opportunity to get that statement win, and they just weren't able to do so coming out of this game. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of the review of all of these games. Like I said, it was kind of relatively quick reviewing all 6 of these ones because these are the games that I didn't watch and only watched the condensed highlights of it. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of these 12 games, and tomorrow I'm going to have to do the preview in terms of the 13 games that is going to be happening this weekend. And I think the only good news is, at least in terms of the weekend's action, we're not going to have this situation where there's just like 12 games that's going to be happening in a day. Although, now that I think about it, I think there's like 10 games that's going to be happening on Saturday and 3 that's going to be happening on Sunday. But nevertheless, hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and also I'll find a way to kind of figure out how I'm going to do the review of the weekend's action. And that will also be the last time that I have to deal with this, because I will be returning home next week, and it's pretty much back to normal business with me on the bigger board and kind of talking about these games, and also I'm also going to start doing the moving forward series because we know there's also a lot of teams that have also been eliminated in terms of the midweek action. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.